Hey everyone, Chris here from VarsityGaming, and welcome back to another episode of Siege School. Today's topic is going to be discussing operator gadgets and interactions between different operators. This idea was originally going to be used for a comedy video, but I decided to turn it into Siege School as it can actually be very helpful for new players. I know these interactions between operators and gadgets can seem very common knowledge to a lot of you, but remember that Siege School is aimed at new players. So for a lot of people who are just getting into the game, this will be very helpful for them. As well, with new operators constantly coming out and a ton of new interactions between gadgets and operators, I felt like this would be a good time to talk about it, since I did mention it a lot in my rant video from a few weeks ago. In this video, overall, we're going to discuss the possible interactions between operators as well as specific interactions between gadgets. And just a heads up for those who care, this video is going to be entirely graphic based and have no in-game footage. I know a lot of you really like to see examples in-game, but unfortunately, with the amount of interactions I'm talking about, this would take hours upon hours of recording in-game to get every single interaction with every single gadget. So instead I decided to make a lot of nice graphics and show those on screen instead of any in-game footage. So I'm sorry for those of you who are upset, but this is realistically the only way I would have been able to get the video done. Otherwise, it would have taken me like 1 or 2 more weeks to completely finish. And the way the format will work is that I'll mention an operator and talk about what their gadget does. After that, I'll show every single other operator that their gadget interacts with. And then there will be lines from the single operator to all the other operators showing how the gadget interacts with them, with different colors meaning different things. Because in Siege, some gadgets can destroy one another, some of them only disable them temporarily. And now this video is going to be broken down into 2 different sections, the first being about gadgets. In this section, we're specifically only going to talk about gadgets. So what this means is that when I mention the single operator I'm going to be talking about, I will only discuss how their gadget interacts with other operators' gadgets and nothing else. Now with that covered, let's get into the operators. First we're going to look at the defenders, and the first one up being Bandit. Bandit has the ability to put down 4 shock wires, which are car batteries that can attach to reinforced walls, barbed wire, or deployable shields. And the shock wire will destroy any of the following special gadgets: Thermite's exothermic charges, Hibana's X-Kyro pellets, Ash's breaching rounds, Twitch's shock drone, Fuse's cluster charges, and Ying's candelas. And the reason why I mentioned Bandit first is because he's the only defender whose gadget destroys other defenders' gadgets naturally. So the Shockwire will also destroy Smoke's gas canisters, Mute's jammers, Jaeger's active defense systems, Valkyrie's black eye cameras, Legion's goo mines, and Ella's concussion mines. So essentially every electronic gadget that Bandit comes in contact with will be destroyed. Next up is Jaeger. Jaeger can put down 3 active defense systems, or trophy systems, or magpies. There's a lot of different names for them. These ADSs will destroy all projectiles from the attacking team. But it is important to note that they will only destroy projectiles within a certain range and within line of sight. It will not destroy a grenade on the other side of a wall. For special gadgets, it will destroy Thatcher's EMP grenades, Ash's breaching rounds, Fuse's cluster pucks, Hibana's X-Kyro pellets, Ying's candelas, and Sophia's impact/concussion grenades. And third is Mute. Mute can put down 4 signal disruptors which will jam attacking gadgets, but does not destroy them like a Bandit shockwire does. For attacking gadgets, it'll jam Thermite's exothermic charges, Twitch's shock drone, Fuse's cluster charges, Blitz's flash shield, Hibana's X-Kyro pellets, Jacko's Inox scanner, and Dokubi's logic bomb. And fourth is Smoke. Smoke's ability is that he can throw 3 gas canisters and set them off remotely. The gas canisters deploy damaging gas in an area. The only gadget that this can counter is Montanya's fully deployable shield. I would not necessarily say this is a direct counter because it does not stop Montanya from fully deploying a shield, he just gets hurt in it. So it does not destroy the gadget and it does not temporarily disable it. Instead it just completely negates it. And now moving on to the DLC defenders, first up is Caviera. Her special ability is Silent Step, which reduces all sound that she makes by 75% and prevents her from making footprints. This ability/gadget only counters Jacko. When Jacko is tracking Caviera, it will ping her as normal until she enters Silent Step. When she's in Silent Step, every time that the Inox is supposed to ping her, she just won't appear. And the Silent Step can be toggled on and off every time a tracking update is supposed to happen to prevent any future updates. I would say this falls into the same category as Smoke and Montanya, it's just that Caviera negates Jacko's ability. The second DLC defender is Echo. Echo is able to deploy a drone called Yokai, which is able to shoot ultrasonic bursts to disorient people. It can hold up to a maximum of 3 bursts and recharges one every few seconds after one's been used. The only gadget that this counters is Montanya, and all it does is temporarily disable him from going full shield. Every single time Montanya is hit by the ultrasonic burst, he drops his full shield and has to put it back on. And the third DLC defender is Mira. She can put down black mirrors on reinforced or unreinforced walls, which are essentially one-way bulletproof windows. This gadget can technically counter Thermite's exothermic charges and Hibana's X-Chiral pellets. If you're placing down a black mirror while a Thermite exothermic charge or a Hibana X-Chiral pellet is on the other side of the wall, it will destroy that gadget. Obviously, this is not at all a reliable method to actually counter other gadgets, however it is possible. So technically Mira's gadget does hard counter Thermite and Hibana's gadgets. And the fourth defender is Ella. She can deploy up to 3 Grismot mines on any surface, which are concussion mines. As soon as an attacker walks into proximity of it, it'll detonate and disorient them. Ella's gadget can be used to counter Montagna in the same way that Echo's drone can. It temporarily disables him from being full shield until he can reactivate it. However, that is the only attacking gadget that it interacts with. And the fifth DLC defender, as well as the last defender we'll be talking about, is Vigil. Vigil has a jammer on his back that makes him invisible to drones and cameras. This gadget counters Twitch's shock drone as well as Dokabee's camera hacks. Vigil also technically counters Valkyrie even though they're both defenders, because if Dokabee hacks the cameras, Vigil will still be invisible on Valkyrie's cameras. And I misspoke, there's actually one more DLC defender that we're going to talk about, and that's Frost. Frost can put down 3 bear traps on the floor, and if any attacking operator walks over it, they will be immediately downed and stuck in the Frost mat. Frost's bear trap is a counter to Montagna and completely negates his full deployable shield. If Montagna walks over the bear trap, he'll immediately be downed and his shield won't be protecting him at all. Now the rest of the defenders have no interactions between their defending gadget and any attacking gadget. Those defenders being Kapkan, Tachanka, Pulse, Castle, Doc, Rook, Valkyrie, and Legion. Technically, you could argue that Tachanka's gadget counters almost every single attacking gadget simply because it can be destroyed using a gun. Like if you were to set up Tachanka's turret and then shot an exothermic charge, it would destroy it. Now while that is gadget on gadget countering, it is essentially the same thing as using a gun. So for this video, I'll just say it doesn't count. And now we're going to be moving on to the attackers. Now this is where we can enter a bit of a gray area. With the defenders, it was very easy to list how the gadgets interact with one another. For example, Bandit's batteries destroy all attacking gadgets as soon as it comes into contact with them. However, a lot of the attackers have explosive gadgets, which means that technically it can destroy any gadget on the defending team. I decided to list them anyways just so people know, because I know not everyone's familiar with the fact that, say, an Ash grenade launcher can destroy a lot of defending gadgets. But anyways, we'll start with the attackers. The first attacker we'll talk about is IQ. IQ can deploy an electronic sensor which can detect all electronic gadgets through the walls. It technically does not counter anything as the gadget itself only tracks, however the tracking can be useful. And the special gadgets that it can track are Smoke's gas canisters, Mute's jammers, Pulse's cardiac sensor, Kapkan's traps, Jaeger's ADSs, Bandit's shock wires, Valkyrie's black eye cameras, Echo's yokai drone, Legion's goo traps, Ella's concussion mines, and Vigil's jammer on his back. And the second attacker is Thatcher. Thatcher has EMP grenades that can destroy or disable any electronic gadget on the defending team. Now this is one of the gadgets where interactions between Thatcher and other operators are inconsistent. For some gadgets it'll destroy them, for some it'll only temporarily disable them. For the defender's gadgets that it'll destroy, this includes Smoke's gas canisters, Mute's jammers, Kapkan's traps, Jaeger's ADS systems, Bandit's shock wire, Valkyrie's black eyes, Legion's goo traps, and Ella's concussion mines. However, it'll only temporarily disable Pulse's cardiac sensor, Echo's yokai drone, and Vigil's jammer. And the third attacker is Sledge. Sledge has a sledgehammer that can break any destructible surface. The only gadget that it counters is Castle's armor panels. Technically, Sledge's hammer could counter a lot of other operators' gadgets such as Jaeger's ADSs, however no one's going to run up to a jammer and hit it with a sledgehammer to destroy it. And so because of that, we're not going to list the other gadgets as gadgets that Sledge can counter. And the fourth attacker is Ash. Ash comes with a grenade launcher with 2 explosive grenades. This grenade launcher can counter Smoke's gas canisters, Mute's jammers, Castle's armor panels, Kapkan's traps, Tachanka's turret, Jaeger's ADSs, Bandit shock wires, Frost's welcome mats, Valkyrie's black eye cameras, Echo's yokai drone, Mira's black mirrors when it's on an unreinforced wall, Legion's goo traps, and Ella's concussion mines. This is one of the operators which I was struggling whether to actually classify as their gadget countering other gadgets, simply because it is doing the exact same thing as a normal frag grenade. However, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I decided to include it just because a lot of people might not know that Ash's grenade launcher can actually do all of these things. The fifth attacker is Thermite. He comes with 2 exothermic charges that can destroy any reinforced wall or hatch, as well as other destructible surfaces. The exothermic charges counter Castle's armor panels, as well as Mirror's black mirrors, whether they're on an unreinforced wall or a reinforced one. And even though I've mentioned this before, I'll say it again, technically Thermite's exothermic charges could counter a lot of other operators simply because it's an explosion, so it would destroy other gadgets in the way. However, the gadget itself is not designed to counter, for example, Jaeger's ADS systems. If an ADS is on the other side of a wall and gets destroyed by an exothermic charge, that is just coincidence and not necessarily the gadget countering the other gadget. Meanwhile, operators like Ash, you can use her grenade launcher to intentionally destroy the ADS. And the 6th attack operator is Twitch. She can deploy 2 shock drones that have tasers that are capable of destroying gadgets or harming operators. The special gadgets that it can destroy are Smoke's gas canisters, Mute's jammers, Kapkan's traps, Jaeger's ADS systems, Bandit's shock wires, Valkyrie's black eye cameras, Echo's yokai drone, Mira's black mirrors, Legion's goo traps, Ella's concussion mines, and to a lesser extent, Vigil. If Twitch is capable of shocking Vigil while he's invisible, it will take him out of his invisibility. However, it does not destroy the gadget, it just temporarily disables it. And the last base attacker before we get into the DLC operators is Fuse. Fuse has 3 cluster charges which shoot out 5 explosive pucks each. And since these pucks are explosive, they can destroy defending gadgets. They will destroy Mute's jammers, Smoke's gas canisters, Kapkan's traps, Tachanka's turret, Jaeger's ADSs, Bandit's shock wires, Frost's welcome mats, Valkyrie's black eye cameras, Echo's yokai drone, Legion's goo traps, and Ella's concussion mines. Fuse's cluster charges are also capable of being deployed on Castle's armor panels. And while this is not a direct counter, you can now understand why people always say to never use Castles on outside windows where Fuse can cluster charge. Now we're going to move on to the DLC attackers. First up is Hibana. Hibana comes with an X-Cairo launcher. Each round contains 6 X-Cairos that are in the formation of a rectangle in 2 lines of 3. There are 3 of these rounds and they can be used to destroy any reinforced wall or hatch, as well as destructible surfaces. Hibana's X-Cairos are a counter to Castle's armor panels as well as Mira's black mirrors. Next we have Blackbeard, whose gadget is only countered by the Ubisoft balancing team. And lastly we have Zofia. Zofia has a double-barreled grenade launcher which can shoot 2 impact grenades and 4 concussion mines. The impact grenades are explosive so they can counter Smoke's gas canisters, Mute's jammers, Castle's armor panels, Kapkan's traps, Tachanka's turret, Jaeger's ADSs, Bandit's shock wires, Frost's welcome mats, Valkyrie's black eye cameras, Echo's yokai drone, Legion's goo traps, and Ella's concussion mines. The concussion mines can also temporarily counter Vigil's jammer, Cavietta's silent step, and Pulse's cardiac sensor. When these defenders get hit by a concussion mine, they will temporarily be unable to use their gadgets. Now the rest of the attacker's gadgets don't directly counter a defender's gadgets. Montagna, Glaz, Buck, Capitao, Ying, Dokkaebi, Jackal, and Blitz. And that'll be it for the gadget portion of the video. Here is a master graphic of every single gadget in the game and how it interacts with other gadgets in the game. The only interactions that are not included is Fuse. This is because they added the lines to the graph and there's so many interactions between Fuse and other operators that it actually made the graph incredibly hard to read, even more so than it already is. So I decided to leave that one out just because for the most part it's common knowledge how it works. This graphic will be available down in the comment section below as an image link. Now with the gadgets covered, we're going to get into specific interactions between operators. This is going to cover either inconsistencies or interactions between operators that aren't commonly known. This is not necessarily specifically about their gadgets, but also just the operators themselves. First up for the interactions is Capitao and Jaeger. This is something a lot of people might disagree with me on, but I think it is a big inconsistency in the game. The interaction is that Jaeger's ADSs do not destroy Capitao's bolts. The actual description of Jaeger's ADSs is that it is capable of destroying explosive projectiles. However, the system is able to destroy smoke grenades as well as stun grenades. And not to mention now Ying's Candelas. So on the face of it, it does not only destroy explosive projectiles, it also destroys all other projectiles. However, for some reason, Capitao's bolts are exempt from this. Now one can argue, okay, overall, anything that it destroys is in some form a grenade. However, it destroys Hibana's X-Cairo pellets, which aren't grenades. They're breaching rounds. This might be getting to semantics, but it is different. While Hibana's X-Cairo pellets do explode, it is very different from a grenade. So why do the ADS systems target this, but they don't target a Capitao bolt? This could be a balancing reason because Capitao is very low tier right now, so maybe they don't want to give another reason not to choose him. However, I find it to be a big inconsistency. Next up for interactions is an exception between Echo and Bandit. Bandit's batteries destroy every single electronic gadget that comes into contact with them immediately. The one exception being Echo's yokai drone. There's no real reason why this happens other than Ubisoft probably didn't want Bandit batteries to accidentally destroy Echo's drone. And since Echo only has one yokai drone, it would kinda suck if you accidentally brushed up against a reinforced wall with a Bandit battery and it immediately got destroyed. However, it is a big pretty inconsistency when Echo's yokai drone can sit inside bandited barbed wire, but another drone cannot. In keeping with Echo, there's another interaction between him and Dokkaebi which I 100% do not agree with. I already talked about this at length in my rant video from a couple weeks ago, so I won't go too far into it, but basically whenever Dokkaebi is using her logic bomb, Echo's phone doesn't ring, because he doesn't technically have a phone, he has a wrist pad. However, the reason given by Ubisoft as to why this happens is not the fact that Echo has a wrist pad, it's the fact that Echo and Dokkaebi used to work together in the lore, so Echo knows how to counteract her logic bomb. It has absolutely nothing to do with the gadget that he uses, it is just the fact that the lore that they're creating, Echo and Dokkaebi used to be friends or work together or something, and that's why he knows how to counter her. Otherwise, if they had not worked together, Echo's wrist pad would probably ring. Next up we have Zofia and Ella. This is not necessarily an interaction, but more of an overall CTU perk. Zofia and Ella are both able to recover 50% faster from the effects of a concussion mine/grenade. Whether it be from their own gadget or from one another's gadget, they do recover quicker. I did mistakenly say this was because of the lore, however, people have informed me that the reasoning behind this is that Zofia and Ella have both trained to withstand the effects, as that is part of their CTU training. However, it brings into question the whole fact of CTU bonuses. Zofia and Ella are the only ones that have this, and the likely reason for this is because of the fact that Ubisoft cancelled the Polish DLC. So to try to make up for this, they're trying to make the Polish operators have all these special little perks that no other operator has, just to make them a little more special. And if it's not the specialty and they just say it's a little perk, then why doesn't Echo have more resilience against his yokai drone? I assume that someone who would work with the drone that much would probably use the disorientation effect on themselves just to see what it's like and to train withstanding it. However, if Echo hits himself with a yokai, he does not have any resilience to his own drone. So there's just a bit of an inconsistency there. And sticking on the theme of Zofia, she has an interaction with pretty much anyone. The concussion grenades prevent any operator from deploying their gadget. So if they're in the midst of deploying it and get hit by concussion, they will stop. This is most notably used for countering bandit tricking, because if bandit is trying to bandit trick a wall, you can shoot in your concussion mines through a drone hole and it'll stop him from putting down his shock wire. And now another interaction, this time including 3 people, is Zofia, Doc, and Ella. These are the only 3 operators in the game that can do something while they're downed. Zofia and Doc can both revive themselves, however Doc revives himself with 75 HP and uses 1 stim pistol in the process. If he does not have any stim shots left, he cannot revive himself. Meanwhile, Zofia can revive herself but only gets up with 1 HP and takes twice as long as Doc. And Ella, while she's down, can set off a concussion mine. However, she cannot pick herself up like Zofia and Doc. And the next interaction is between Glaz and Castle. The reason why I didn't list this in the gadget section is because, according to the game, Glaz's special ability is his scope, not his sniper rifle. And this interaction is between Glaz's sniper rifle and Castle's gadget. But anyways, Glaz is capable of destroying Castle's barricades with 12 shots. Allegedly, also the BOSG 12.2, which is usable by Dokkaebi and Vigil, can also destroy the armor panel, but it takes a lot more shots. Each of Glaz's shots will penetrate all 3 layers of the armor panel, while the shotgun from Dokkaebi and Vigil will only destroy 1 layer at a time. In keeping on Glaz, he has an interaction with hatches. He's capable of destroying any unreinforced hatch with just 3 bullets. This is something that no other operator in the game can do with their standard gun, with the exception of shotguns. But any other DMR or rifle or submachine gun is not capable of destroying a hatch like this. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is something that's not necessarily an inconsistency, but something that I think should be implemented into the game. And it is an interaction between Thatcher and Dokkaebi. Currently, Thatcher disrupts any electronic device on a defender, yet when Dokkaebi is calling them, if a defender gets hit by a Thatcher EMP, it doesn't turn off the phone, when realistically it should. This is not necessarily an inconsistency because Thatcher's EMP doesn't disable the ability to hop on cameras, which is the exact same phone, but it is something I think would be interesting to test. Because if you think about it in a logical sense, an EMP should turn off your phone. And this wouldn't be a huge hit to Dokkaebi either, because this situation wouldn't happen all the time. Overall, I'm not sure if it's really necessary, I just think it's something interesting to think about. And that'll be it for the interactions. I know there's a lot of other interactions that I possibly could have talked about, but I felt like these were the most important and gave more information that would help newer players. A lot of these interactions between operators isn't given to the new players, they just have to learn it along the way. So I tried to only talk about things that weren't too obvious. But anyways, that'll conclude today's episode of Siege School. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And before I do my outro, I do just want to let you guys know, in the first week of January, I'm going to release a video talking about the year in review, and I will also be talking about some changes that'll be happening to Siege School. It won't be anything drastic, but I do just want to let you guys know that there will be some changes in the schedule. I've absolutely loved making these past 20 episodes for you guys, and I really hope that you guys have found them very useful, but some changes will have to be made. I'll talk more about that in the January video. But for now, I'm going to do my 2 plugs, and that'll be it for the video. Plug number 1, I do stream on Twitch every single day. The link to my Twitch channel is on the screen or in the description below. Right now my schedule is that I stream every single day starting at noon Eastern Standard Time, but that also might change in January. I'll keep you guys posted on that too. And plug number 2 is the merch store. If you're interested in picking up any Varsity Gaming or Siege School merchandise, then you can check the link down below or the link on the end screen. It's a good way to support the channel as well as getting something in return. And that is it for my plugs, which means that's it for the video. Thank you again everyone for watching, and thank you very much for sticking with me for 20 episodes. I love the effect that Siege School has had on the community, and I'm very thankful that you guys keep watching this content. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.